But thank you very much. I think you yourself are an amazing person. What I really like about you is, and this was never discussed in our earlier conversation. I think you're after an HR professional. It's so original, authentic. It's Hassan Raza. It's HR, and you yourself, mashallah, have grown so much into. We met over a decade back, and mashallah, you've grown. You've added value to any position that you've been in. On and off, by the way, I've been following. I think we're touch with the whole thing. So over LinkedIn, over Facebook, we find out what's happening. So mashallah, you've done a great job, and I think ये पूरा जो HR professional का आपने जो Pep Talk जो शुरू किया, I think it's a wonderful initiative, and I really like the kind of guests that you've been following. बल्कि कहीं मुझे ये भी होता था, मेरे इतने दोस्त जा रहे हैं, मुझे अभी तक नहीं कांटेक्ट किया. तो बढ़िया, थैंक यू.
आज आपको मैं एक इंपॉर्टेंट मैसेज और दे रहा हूँ. ये लिख के आप अपने पास रख लें. जो लोग आपको कहते हैं ना कि आप दुनिया के फारिग तरीन आदमी हैं, जो लोग आपको कहते हैं कि आप नाकाम हो जाएंगे, ज़िंदगी में कभी कुछ नहीं कर सकेंगे, आपने इन लोगों के सामने बोलना नहीं है. अब आप शायद हैरान होकर सुन रहे होंगे कि हसन रज़ा हमें ये कह रहा है कि आपने इन लोगों के सामने बोलना नहीं है. मैं बिल्कुल ठीक कह रहा हूँ आपको. आपने इन लोगों के सामने बोलना नहीं है, क्योंकि अगर आप बोलेंगे ना तो कुछ लोग सुनेंगे. आपने इन लोगों के सामने कामयाब होकर दिखाना है. जिस दिन आप कामयाब हो जाएंगे, ये लोग आपकी अपनी पूरी फैमिली में या इर्द गिर्द हर जगह आपकी मिसालें दे रहे होंगे और कहेंगे यार ये वो बंदा है जो मेरे साथ बैठता था, जो मेरे साथ बात करता था. इसके लिए आपको बहुत मेहनत करनी पड़ेगी, कामयाब होकर दिखाना पड़ेगा, क्योंकि जब आप कामयाब हो जाएंगे ना, तब सारी दुनिया सुनेगी. आउज़ बिल्लाहि मिनश शैतानिर रजीम. बिस्मिल्लाहिर रहमानिर रहीम. अल्लाहुम्मा सल्लि अला मुहम्मदिन व अला आलि मुहम्मदिन कमा सल्लैता अला इब्राहीम व अला आलि इब्राहीम इन्नका हमीदुम मजीद. Assalamu alaikum everyone. This is Hassan Raza, the founder of Pep Talk Pakistan. Thank you for joining us today's show, where I always bring amazing people who are going to help you, inspire you passionately. The main objective of Pep Talk Pakistan is to show the positive image of Pakistan to the world. So that's why I'm conducting interviews of different professionals who they are sharing their success stories with us. Let's discuss about today's session. Today we will be having a session on Pakistan as a staffing hub for the world. My today co-host is Shan Zahir. Hi Shan, how are you?
Hello Hassan, how are you? I'm good, alhamdulillah.
Great. So you are super duper excited today. I am very excited because we are going to have a wonderful session. You know what? Joining us today, phenomenal guests. They both are really phenomenal and visionary. Let me introduce my guest first, okay? So the first guest joining us today, a top-notch HR professional of the world, and second is the guru of startup and a mentor. And you know what's special about them? They're always ready to help job seekers. I have seen many posts of our guests on social media, particularly on LinkedIn, who went viral. Let me introduce my first guest, and his name is Chris Gillan. He's co-founder and the chief revenue officer of Emerald Lab. Chris has over 15 years of experience in the technology companies and has founded 3 successful startup companies, have been a mentor at Capital Factory for 7 years, and recently lead their successful launch into the corporate innovation arena. Chris has almost 5 years of experience with offshore and nearshore development as both a customer and a provider of services. Hey Chris, welcome to Pep Talk Pakistani show.
Hey, how are you? Good to be here. Thanks for having me.
Great, wonderful, wonderful. So my second guest is phenomenal. Joining us today, a top-notch HR professional of Pakistan and the world also, and an amazing visionary. You know, when I say amazing, I mean it. You know, he's a career coach and a super duper seasoned HR professional. He strongly believes that the distance between you and everything that you want is only a one communication away. As you listen to his story, you will notice the power in your own voice. Well, I'm talking about my second guest, and his name is Shahbaz Ali Baig, and he's having more than 20 years working experience in the field of human resource management. He has worked with different companies like SIM, GE, KESC, HBL. Currently, he's working as a global head of talent acquisition and transformation leader at Amazon. Thank you, Shahbaz, for joining once again Pep Talk Pakistan.
Thank you, Hassan. Assalamu alaikum, Hassan. Assalamu alaikum, Shayan. Hi, Chris. It's great to be here. Looking forward to this.
Great, wonderful. By the way, I am super excited and I know that this session is going to be very informative and wonderful session. Guys, we are going to ask you a lot of questions. These questions are on the behalf of our people who are following us on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook. This is just to update you that we are live on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Pep Talk YouTube channel. So, Shayan, hand over to you. Please proceed the session. I will rejoin you shortly. Okay, take
Thank
care.
you so much. Thank you so much, Hassan. So, we all have witnessed that people talking about their success stories. No one talks about their failure stories. At this point of time, I believe we need to normalize this concept that people can fail, people can make mistakes. Because at the end of the day, we all are human beings and human make mistakes. So these failures can be big learning lessons too. People who are well renowned, successful now, but they might have faced some challenges too in establishing their career. Everyone has their own journey. So we would like to ask you both to tell your side of stories, how you managed to be there where you currently are. This can be great opportunity for people to get motivated from your life. So we will start. We will be basically asking same question to both of you. Let's start from you, Shabaz. Over to you.
Sure. That's a great question, Shan, and I like the way you kind of phrased it. I think you learn more from failures than you learn from your
Yes.
successes. One of the
Yeah.
things I tell my son, who's 11 years old, all the time is that pain is the biggest motivator. And so
I
every
agree.
time in sports or in life or anything else, if you fail, that is when you actually try harder to problem solve. But when you succeed, you kind of get a little complacent. I'm
Yeah.
sure, over time, Chris must have tons of stories. I have several. I'm sure you have in terms of ups and downs in lives and challenges that we have faced. So I won't spend too much time on, recounting all of them,
Yeah.
but I think there is one that kind of sticks in my mind because I think, especially for people who are in Pakistan and people,
Yeah.
what we can overseas Pakistanis, it's a story that I think many people can appreciate. So very quickly, I came to States from Pakistan back in '91, did my master's
Okay.
here, worked here till 2005, and I thought I've achieved what I wanted to achieve. I learned what I wanted to learn, and I wanted to kind of go back and do something good for
Yeah.
Pakistan, for my parents. So I moved back. Um, but then in 2010, I had a very difficult decision to make. Probably the most challenging time of my life, which was I had an opportunity to come back to States and work in 2010, and you can imagine how torn I was. One,
Yeah.
thinking, hey, my purpose was to work hard, learn all the tools of life, come back, and then share with Pakistan, take care of my family and my parents. But now,
Yeah.
if I go back to States, that's going to be kind of perceived as being selfish and kind of a failure, right? Oh,
Yeah.
you didn't fit in, or whatever the case might be, and you're going to the place where the grass is greener.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, that was the most difficult time of my life. Obviously, when I was looking at the pros and cons and writing them down on a
Mm.
whiteboard, I just didn't know what the right decision is, because either way I was going to lose. If I stayed in Pakistan, I was not going to do the right thing for me personally or professionally, but going to States felt the same way. So the tie break in this case was the fact that at that time my son was 1 year old, and my mother was in politics at that time back in Pakistan, and I thought that for him, the right thing for me will be to keep him a little bit away from that environment. And so that was that. My son at that time, being 1 year old, helped me make that difficult decision. But I'll tell you, even 10 years after that, once you go through that kind of a situation where you have to make that difficult choice,
Yeah.
you're never whole again. There's a part of you that's always a little bit broken. So, anyways, that's one challenging or story, or I guess in some ways a failure that you can call, that I'm sharing with our audience here.
Yeah, I must say this was the very inspiring story that I have came across. Now let's move to you, Chris, and let our audience know what struggles were there in your way.
Absolutely. So I think about this a lot because I try to go back to think about my beginning and how I can help people over their current struggles. So this was a great question. I hadn't thought about this one in a while, but when I was in my early 20s, I'm a very serious reader. This is just a very small portion of my library behind me. I have a couple of thousand books really about how to become the person you want to become and how to be successful. And
Yeah,
I started reading in my very early 20s these books, but I had trouble personalizing it. I had trouble believing that I could be the one that actually did that, that I could
yeah,
transform my life. And so I had this idea to reach out to the most successful people I knew and hear their stories. And so I was so nervous about this. I actually reached out to my mother's boss's boss, the head of the corporation that she worked for. She was a reporter for the Houston Chronicle newspaper. So I reached out to the president and the publisher and asked his secretary if I could get 10 minutes of his time. Told her what I wanted to do. She got back to me the next day and said, yeah, come up. He'll give you an hour. Come meet him in his office. And I was like, oh, wow. So I went there. I sat down with him and said, I just want to interview you. I just want to hear how you went from where I am to where you are, right? Is it
yeah,
really possible? And he told a story very similar to mine. He came up with a similar background, and just hearing him describe how he became successful
yeah,
and how willing he was to give me advice was really amazing to me.
yeah,
And what I found through that is that people who are successful generally really want to help others come up
yeah,
from where they are and help them along their paths. Very inspirational moment to me. And I have to say, when I came out of his office and went down in the elevator, I ran into my mother in the library, in the lobby, and she was surprised I was coming to see her. And I told her what I was really doing there. And she was horrified that I would go see her boss. She was so scared that I would have hurt her reputation, hurt her standing in the company. But once she found the lessons I had learned in that hour, it was really amazing. And this gentleman, he invited me to come back. I came back every quarter and sat in his big corner office, and he really, and he introduced me to other people that I could go meet. It was my own Think and Grow Rich. I was building my own mastermind group. It was quite remarkable.
I
right.
love it.
What a motivating journey, I must say, Chris. Now, let's jump right into the topic that we are going to talk about, that is Pakistan as a staffing hub for the world. So, my first question to you, Chris, would be startups are the building blocks of the knowledge economy. There are many startups, example, which are owned by Pakistan, but we still have a long way to go. Startups have been successful in past and made their way up to the top. How you and Emerald Lab is providing opportunities for Pakistani workforce to connect with clients around the globe. So over to you, Chris.
Yeah, that's a great question. Um, and we've really designed Emerald Labs to do just that. So I'm a serial entrepreneur. I've been involved in over 12 startup companies, either as founding CEO or investor or lead mentor of the group. And what
Yeah,
I've found is that startups are looking for this incredible set of talent. They need people that have skill sets beyond what they can
yeah,
afford, right? And so what we're doing at Emerald Labs
yeah,
is we reach out to all these startups in my network, particularly in the Texas region, and educate them about Pakistan, the incredible talent that is there, and how we've organized it and how we can bring this level of professionalism and these talents to the startups at an affordable price. And what we're doing on the other side, we're truly a multinational company. We spend most of our effort there in Pakistan professionalizing the talent, right? It's about
yeah,
not just bringing bright minds and fingers on keyboards, but a level of professionalism and communication and
yeah,
organization. So we handle all of the HR responsibilities and the organization of the labor in the office and the hardware and all that, and make it as a very easy turnkey package for those entrepreneurs to be able to tap into this talent base very, very simply.
yeah. Yeah.
And on the other side,
Right.
real quick, on the other side, the advantage to the workers in Pakistan is that we make that connection possible, right?
Yeah.
There's ways to freelance and go one-on-one and help startups, but what we need to do is help Pakistan work together and work in teams and be able to organize that labor to really help the US market.
Right. Right. So my question to you for is actually for all those Pakistanis who are watching us today. So how Pakistan can ignite a future full of innovation? How can we be not just consumers, retailers, or assemblers of these technologies, but rather help design them so that Pakistani workforce are not just domestic workers, but work on these technology and make some difference in the world. So what's your take on it, Chris?
Well, this may not be the answer that you would expect. It's a personal decision to the individuals, right?
Yeah.
They need to make a personal decision that they're able to do this in their minds. And it's not just about
Right.
working, again, like I said before, one-on-one with these companies. They need to band together and work as teams to help. Work with companies like Emerald Labs and the large corporations that go into Pakistan to help organize this labor as well. Really work on yourselves. First, you have to gain the knowledge of the technology basis, right, to be able to have this skill set. But beyond that, it's about the ability to communicate. It's the ability to know the product life cycle systems that you're working on, become experts in Agile and Scrum, and then work together as teams, as professionals. That'll really make the difference. And it's being on the right side of the technology changes, right? To make sure that you're not replaced by the robots that we're creating with software, but you're the one that's actually creating them and owning them. That's my take on it.
Right. Right. So basically, the third question that I would want you to answer is actually that the next innovation that are coming in. The World Economic Forum described next wave of innovation as the fourth industrial revolution. So the fourth industrial revolution is, of course, different from the other waves. So we have technologies like artificial intelligence and virtual reality and so on. How can we bring this fourth industrial revolution to Pakistan? How can we benefit from that? What's your take on it, Chris?
Cheyenne, I love that
Do you
question as
think
well.
that?
And I just put together, was working with Capital Factory on an event
Yeah.
about the fourth industrial revolution and what it means to these large corporations and how they can be
Yes.
nimble and take advantage of them, just as important to the
Yeah.
individuals and the workforce in Pakistan as well. And
Yeah.
the fourth industrial revolution is really about smart factories and artificial intelligence and machine learning. And I kind of touched on this in my last answer. It's about being ahead of the
Yeah.
curve, right? There's lots of people in the workforce that are going to be replaced by this. In Pakistan has been famous for years for their call centers, right? A lot of that is being replaced with chatbots and things like that. But it's about taking personal responsibility, learning the skill set to be able to write the technology to do these and stay ahead in the curve. So do you want to be replaced by the by the software robots, or do you want to be the person that's writing them?
Yeah.
Right? It's
Yeah.
about getting the skill set, the technology, and being able to be the ones in charge of this technical revolution, not being affected by it.
Right. Right. So I'll hand over the session to you, Hassan, so that you can ask questions from Shahbaz.
Great, wonderful. I was just waiting for my turn. So great. So Shabazz, I'm super excited. This is my third session with you. So let me ask one very important question to you. Are hiring from all over the world. How you can differentiate the Pakistanis talent to other countries? What are the specialities? What are the talent? I mean, what kind of specialities that they have?
I think one of the things that, that's a very good question, because I I brought it up many times. I've done some research on this. When you look at Pakistan, the biggest asset that we have in Pakistan, it's not oil. We know
Mm,
that. We
mm,
didn't find any, right?
Yeah.
It's not coal, it's not minerals. It is our youth. We have such a large youth population, And that is our biggest asset, which is so unfortunately underutilized. I really like what Emerald Labs is doing, because I think if you can mobilize and if you give the youth, the young people, a playbook, right, and give them direction, they can actually do miracles. What happens is that when you said, okay, what skills we have, when you have um, young generation, which is a large population in your country, your long-term future is very secure if you invest in that youth. You give them the right tools, the right guidance, the right learning, and then they can actually excel. And that should be the biggest thing that we export, that talent to the world, right? I mean, that is exactly what you're doing, right, Chris, with Emerald Lab. I mean, that is the talent and that is the skill that they have. So when it comes to kind of the we know the tech talent is there. Absolutely, the tech talent is there. There is no question about it. The now you've got better infrastructure. So sometimes the talent might be there, but there is a hesitation, or is there the right infrastructure to make sure that the talent can actually excel and thrive? But certain things have to come together, right? You need the right infrastructure, the right platform, the right kind of environment for that talent to thrive. I think a few years back we always had the talent, but we didn't have the right environment, we didn't have the right infrastructure. But now you can check off those boxes, right? So I think the time is now, because if the right investment is done in the young generation, the advantage that Pakistan will have is that talent can help both domestically, but also that talent can be exported, whether it is a talent sitting in Pakistan in a call center or doing software
Great.
development, or the talent is going abroad, and making a difference around the world. I am going to do a shameless plug on a book I wrote called Save the Future of Pakistan. And in that book, the one thing that I
Mm,
said was that our leaders, the
mm,
biggest thing that they need to do is figure out how to create some sort of an academy for our
mm,
talent, and figure out how do you use this talent in an academy environment so that they can actually thrive with the talent that they have. And I wish that if the public sector,
mm.
the government doesn't do it, then I'm so glad to see that organizations like Emerald Lab are doing that. So I think it's a really great cause that, Chris, you and your organization is working on.
Great, wonderful, wonderful, great. So, Shabazz, next question is that it's a very specific question. What do you think that what are the areas of improvement? We're having some issues in communication, the cultural difference. So, how we have to cope up this challenge?
I think we have to focus on the fundamentals,
Hmm.
right? The fundamentals are the same around the world. So I'm sure people who are listening and watching know the term
Hmm.
STEM: science, technology, engineering, and
Hmm.
mathematics. I actually like the term STEAM, which is science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics.
Hmm.
Sometimes, and that is the mindset that I'm that's the reason I'm bringing this up. When you said communication and challenges,
Hmm.
sometimes you have parents, you have people deciding, arts means nothing, you got to
Agree.
be an
Agree.
engineer, you got to be an account.
Ah.
No, arts is really important.
Hmm.
My sister did was an artist, and now she's one of the best architects in California, right?
Hmm.
When you are artists, you can become a software designer. So
Hmm.
we tend to forget that. So I think the first thing I'll say is that in order to kind of solve the challenges, Hassan, that you're talking about,
Hmm.
we need to make sure that the fundamentals, these five
Hmm.
things: science, technology, engineering, arts, and maths, those are the things that we focus on collectively. Our leadership, our
Agree.
academic
Hmm.
institutes, our professional institutes, They focus on those things. If you have the right fundamentals, then other doors open up for you. But if you don't have the right fundamentals, and then you're saying, well, I want to do something in agile, it's all good. You do those things. I want to be certified in X, Y, and Z. That's good. But first, make sure that your fundamentals are good, and then opportunities will open up.
Great, wonderful. You're always motivational and inspirational. Wonderful, Shabazz. Great. Okay, the next question is that how the pandemic has changed the industry priorities, tactics, and strategies.
I think I'll tell you in two parts, right?
Yeah.
I think if and I'm sure Chris will agree, because I see the books behind him, the great leaders, the great visionaries, the great CEOs, great
Hmm.
companies of the world, they don't worry about, well, they look at, of course, you have to worry about short term, right? What is the impact of COVID and pandemic and so on? But you still have to keep your eye on the ball 5 years from now, 10 years from now. And I think, and I think a lot of people get worried, oh gosh, manufacturing will go away, and so no, there are certain, again, things that are timeless, that don't go away. Manufacturing is not going away, it's increasing because of COVID and pandemic, right? Service industry is increasing, not going down because of pandemic. Right now everyone wants delivery service and other services that they weren't using before, right? People are going to grocery stores less. They are doing delivery, for example, right? I'm at Amazon. In a way, you're providing a service. Now people are buying more online than ever before. So service industry, hospitality may be down right now, but medical industry is booming. One of the ways that I recommend people look at the trends of, oh, where do I invest, what kind of talent that I should kind of go after. One way to do that is by looking at the stock market and seeing where the trends are going. Raise your hand if you have not heard of Moderna. I rest my case, right? Moderna is a brand name that is now as popular as Donald Trump's brand name in the world. Go anywhere and everyone knows Moderna, right? What does that mean? Companies like pharmaceutical companies in the medical industry are going up because it's not just this virus, it's not just COVID-19, but now people are realizing, oh, if we have COVID-19, we can have COVID 20 and 21. So we got to plan in advance. So a lot of people who are trying to figure out what to do, they're going into pharmaceutical industry and getting certification and education in that. So I think you have to look at the short term trends, both in terms of hey, what are some of the things that are kind of going up, but at the same time, remember that the great companies are still planning ahead. A good example is of a company named Boeing, right? That makes all these planes, and they had a couple of bad accidents, and their stock went down, and there was a whole thing of Boeing is gone. You know, the interesting thing is Boeing is not going anywhere. It's actually coming back because people know as soon as there is a vaccine and people will forget things so quickly that the travel industry will be more than what it was a year ago in the matter of 1 to 2 years. So what's happening? People are already planning in advance, purchasing aircrafts for 2 to 5 years from now. So again, the in short, what I like to say is that while there are trends during the pandemic, which is more on online and virtual and electronic, but those trends were already there. This is just
Hmm.
kind of helping push that trend forward. But at the same time, this trend is still going to make sure that we need more manufacturing, we need more call centers, right? Because now no one is going to go to a person in person and purchase something. They're going to call a call center. So some of those things that Chris and Cheyenne have been talking about, I think we're going to see a steep incline in demand for those industries. Chris, Hassan is not here. What do you think?
While we're waiting for Hassan to come here, I'm going to make a comment on that. I love the fact that you bring up Boeing. I was reading an article over the weekend. It's very interesting to look at the airlines that have actually signed contracts in the last 2 weeks with Boeing. Those are the companies that I want to watch, right? Because they're smart. They're buying during the downturn when they can really get a much larger value for their dollar.
Great example.
Yeah, our company Emerald Labs has grown incredibly during this pandemic, and we reformed it right as the pandemic started. And my family was very worried about what I was doing. I'm like, don't worry, my last 2 companies I built during economic downturns. This is the time to build. This is the time to focus and come together and
100%.
create amazing things.
Great, wonderful. Sorry, my internet is creating a problem right now. I'm trying to fix it, but most probably, I think we are on the right track now. Okay, Shahbaz, the next question is that what communication strategies, tech choices, and behaviors are driving growth?
So I'll tell you, I think there are a couple of things that that's happening right now, right? We've talked about some of the things already, right? We can talk about all these buzzwords that are in the industry right now, right? AI and machine learning and virtual technology, all of that is true. I think what is going to happen and what's going to drive growth is where the growth will come from, right? You have a big pie here, and who can take some of the market share of this big pie, right? You also have to look at some of the, I would say, like geopolitical and environmental factors. I'll tell you a big interesting thing that is going to be something to watch for is what's happening in Middle East, right? It's always like Middle East was like this scary thing, and oh, Middle East, and now suddenly we're seeing that there is a lot of collaboration that is happening. I think some of the peace talks that have happened recently in Middle East are going to open new economies, new opportunities for the entire region, and that's a good thing, right? Peace brings more. When there is peace, I think people are more comfortable in investing, obviously, and I think you will see more of that. And I think Pakistan can take benefit from some of the peace talks that have happened in Middle East. I think the other thing that is going to happen, and we're going to see that very soon, is right now we're seeing all this rapid growth in everything going online, right? But we only look at the front end of it, right? Oh, we're buying something online, or we're calling, or placing an order online. Everything is online, but that is the front end. The part that is also booming is all the back end. There's a whole supply chain starting all the way from manufacturing. So all of those things have to be taken into consideration. And then the last thing I will say, again, going back to that geographical, right? Pick anything. Pick anything. I can take this mug, for example, and if I look at the bottom, most likely it is made in China. Am I right? Almost everything is made in China. Now, the question is, will that be true 5 years from now? And if that's not the case, because of geopolitical challenges that China is having right now with the United States, that means now that market share can be used by other emerging markets like Pakistan, like India, like Bangladesh, Malaysia. So I think there are countries who are looking forward to taking some of that market share away from China. The last thing I will tell you is that there is going to be a trend of localization, right? We moved a lot into globalization, right? Everything is global. Everything is being made in China. All Apple things are made in China. Most of the things you buy on Amazon are made in China. But now what's going to happen is that people are going to bring, because of the scare of pandemic and all that, they want to control the supply chain. So rather than saying, oh, we want to go to the cheapest place on earth, they want to be able to control the supply chain a little bit more. So you may see some localization where manufacturing all the way till the front end of, the delivery process is more localized. And I think, again, as I said, that will open doors for small businesses and medium businesses um, all over the world, particularly in emerging markets like Pakistan.
Great, wonderful. Okay. The final question is that what are the tradable services that the Pakistan can use, understanding the scope and the impact of services offshoring?
So offshoring, as Chris said it very well, right? Offshoring is something that
Huh.
is going to increase because of what we're seeing with pandemic.
Great.
Why?
Agree.
Because now it people and even companies and organizations which were very reluctant to
Hmm.
have
Hmm.
any virtual of any
Hmm.
kind. There were like companies in America, Chris, I'm sure you'll agree that there were companies who would say, yeah, everyone else can do virtual. That's not us.
Hmm.
You
Huh.
want to sell something, you have to meet in person, right? You want to have any agreement, any deal, you have to meet in person.
Hmm.
I want everyone in my company, from people on the calls to sales and so on, to be in one building. Now that paradigm shift is has already changed, right? Now people are saying, hey, that's not working, obviously. So now companies, I mean, a big example is Microsoft. Microsoft has their headquarters in Seattle, their global headquarters, and they have invested so much in that land and real estate that they want people to come and work from their offices. But guess what? Microsoft has said you can work from anywhere right now. So when Microsoft says that, guess what? All the tech industry is now somehow have to sort of follow that path, which means now you can be in Lahore and you can work. You can live in anywhere on this planet, and you can be as effective as you were when you were sitting face to face. So when we talk about services, those are the opportunities that I think Pakistan has to invest in. The government has to invest in, because that means you need
Hmm.
even better infrastructure than you have today. You have to scale now for what is to
Hmm.
come, because if you don't scale, your neighbors will take the market share. So invest now in that infrastructure, invest now in building academies for our people so that they can be trained in engineering and technology and agile methodology and so on, so that they can actually take some of that market share, which will open up because of the new world that we are going to be living in going forward.
Wow, great, wonderful. And we're getting a very good feedback. I mean, the people are just appraising Shahbaz and Chris. What a session it is. I mean, very interesting. Thank you, Shahbaz and Chris. Credit goes to you. Wonderful.
Thank you, guys.
Great. So, Shayan, now the next segment is very interesting. So, we'll be
Yeah.
having a rapid fire segment for both of our guests. So, you're ready for the rapid fire?
Yeah. Yeah,
Sure.
yeah, I am.
Great. So, please take a lead.
Right. So I must say we get to share a lot of stories and knowledge from Chris and Shabazz, and you both were amazing throughout the session. So we'll start off with you, Chris, from the rapid fire questions. Are you ready for it?
I'm ready.
Okay, great. So what makes you unique? Just one word question answers.
One word.
Yeah.
Curiosity.
Okay.
Curiosity.
Who right. Who inspires you the most?
Napoleon Hill.
Wow.
Okay. A stranger's first impression of yours would be,
Shy.
right? What are your strengths? What would be your strength that you believe you have one?
One word. Reading.
Right. And one weakness of yours would be?
Shyness.
Okay. If we have to automate you and ask you to keep one human quality, what should that be?
Can you say that one more time?
So I'm saying if we have to automate you and ask you to keep one human quality, what should that be?
Curiosity.
Okay.
I like it.
Wonderful.
What's the most used app on your smartphone?
Facebook.
Oh, wow.
Okay. What superpower do you think you have?
Compassion.
Great. What excites you and motivates you in your role?
Repeat that one more time.
What excites you and motivates you in your role?
Helping others.
Great.
Great. Great. I must say you have given really amazing answers, Chris. Thank you so
And
much.
I
Now
really,
we'll move on.
I really like the expression of Chris. I mean, wonderful,
Yeah.
amazing. So
I
the
think
whole
his
thing.
superpower is he's very humble.
Yeah, he is, no doubt, and
I
he's a
would
great
never say
leader.
that.
Okay. Now we'll move on to you, Shahbaz. Right. So, what is the one thing you would put on your bucket list?
On my bucket list, I do want to hike to the top of Mount Kilimanjaro.
Okay, that's cool. What would you do with your 15 minute of fame?
I would try to convince people to help others.
Wow,
Right.
amazing.
Yeah. How do you handle failure?
I handle failure by being more motivated to succeed.
Yeah. Great. What's on your smartphone home screen?
Uh, WhatsApp, because I have to, talk to my family that's all over the world. So
Okay.
WhatsApp.
I was
Yeah.
expecting that answer that the McCall's picture, his
Yes.
son picture. Yeah, I was expecting that answer. Okay.
Yeah. The one thing Pakistanis should consume less of.
Uh, Television. I think we have a lot of
Right.
crap that comes on Pakistan television. I've seen some of it. It's
Agree.
horrible.
Okay.
Agree. 100% agree.
It's garbage.
Okay. Would you rather go watch movie with your friends or your family?
I hope my family is not watching this. I love watching movies with my son.
That's great. What advice would you give to the young people entering the workforce today? One piece of advice that you would give.
Be humble, like Chris. I would
Yeah.
say be patient, but be
Mm.
persistent at the same time.
Mm. Right.
It's a,
Right.
it's a life is a marathon. It's not a sprint.
Yeah.
And for
Yeah.
those who try to take shortcuts, um,
Yeah.
it's not going to help you long term.
That's great. Thank you so much, both of you. Over to you, Hassan.
Wow, wonderful. Great session, Chayan. You did a great job. I mean,
Yes.
amazing. You
Thank
were
you.
amazing.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Great. So, thank you, Chris. Thank you, Shahbaz, for joining us in today's session. I think you people were amazing. I mean, I don't have word. I mean, throughout the whole session, we have learned a lot of things and we're getting a very
Yeah.
good feedback. And again, thank you very much. And my request is to you that please keep us support and do join us in upcoming shows. My humble request to you, so you can add more value on it.
Absolutely. Thanks for having us. This has been a great honor to be on your show. I appreciate it. And Shahbaz, I'm really looking forward to meeting you face to face. We actually live just a few hours from one another.
That's right. That's right. We're so we got to plan that out, Chris, very soon. Anytime you want, I'm up for taking that road trip up north
I love
to
it.
see you.
Great,
Anytime, my friend.
great.
We'll
And
be ready.
Hassan
I
and
want to come watch
Shayan.
your son play tennis.
Oh yeah, and I'll bring him to your town. I'm sure there's a tournament there. And Shayan
Excellent.
and great platform again.
Yeah.
Thanks for having Chris and I at your
Great,
show.
wonderful.
Absolutely. Cheyenne, great job today.
And Shahbaz,
Thank
bhai,
you.
Pakistan is missing you badly. Do come back, Pakistan. We need you.
Inshallah, I'm coming very soon, and hopefully in the next 60 days.
Great, wonderful. Okay, I'd like to just wrap up the session. I want to request you that one-liner, two-liner message to the Pep Talk Pakistan follower. The people are following us and watching us right now on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook. We will start from Chris and then move to Shahbaz.
Well, I tell you what, I like to finish my talks with one of my favorite sayings, and it's when asked what to do next, it's very simple. The only thing that you need to do next is whatever it takes.
Rightly said. Wonderful, rightly said.
Yeah.
Please, Shahbaz,
I
over to
love it,
you.
Chris. I love it. Um, I'll say something for the leaders of Pakistan. There is a saying that I strongly believe in. I'll say it slowly so people can understand this one. 99% of the leaders, they demand respect.
Hmm. Hmm.
I'm the boss, respect me. I'm the leader, respect me. I'm the CEO, respect me. But there's only 1% of the leaders that command respect. They're people
Wow.
that don't need a title, they don't need to be anyone. People respect them for what they are. A great example in Pakistan is Abdul Sattar Eidi,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Who is one of those 1% of the leaders that people just respect, not because of authority, but
Hmm.
because of what he has done for millions
Hmm.
of people. So I
Hmm.
think that is my word of advice. Be like someone that people will
Hmm.
respect, not because you have a title, but because of your actions.
Great, wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Great. Thank you, Shayan. Thank you, Shabazz, and thank you, Chris, for
You're
today's
welcome.
show. Thank you, everyone, for watching today's episode of Pep Talk Pakistan. Do share your feedback with us so we can improve accordingly. And please, you can also follow our guest on LinkedIn and YouTube. Chris is also very active on LinkedIn, and Shabazz is everywhere, Facebook and on LinkedIn. You can also follow both of them on social media as well. Thank you very much. Thank you. Take care. Bye bye. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye,
Thank you.
everyone.
Bye.
Good
Bye.
afternoon.
Bye.
Good afternoon. Take
And
care.
that is